we would like to welcome you all to our Counterpoise podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Samantha Adams, joined by my other two co-hosts who are going to introduce themselves.
Yeah, I am Everett Stevenson, your other co-host as well.
Hi, I'm Malik Foster, another co-host for the Counterpoise podcast. And today we have a good topic for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the recent events concerning the Supreme Court nominations due to the fact that Justice Breyer, he plans to retire later this year. So that's what
officially retired.
So I know the first thing we're going to be talking about today is some of the history of Blacks being on the Supreme Court, because here at the Counterpoise podcast, we usually focus on Black people, the Black culture, and Black politics, the impacts different things have on Black people here in the U.S. specifically, but also abroad sometimes as well. So I know the first justice was Thurgood Marshall. Sam, did you want to shed a little bit?
Yeah, I have a little bit of information about both justices. There have only been two. All right, so let's just be clear. It's not like there's been this like long list of people. There have only been two. There was Thurgood Marshall. He was the very first. He was the very first Black person to ever serve on the United States Supreme Court. And let me just say this, guy, real quick for some of our viewers. We have three branches of government, right? We have the executive branch, we have the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. This is like a quick little civics lesson 101, right? Executive branch is the president and all his people under him, right? That's cabinet members, secretaries of whoever, things like that. Then you have the legislative branch, which is
department heads too.
Right, and department heads, right. And then you have the legislative branch, which is Congress and the Senate. Okay. Then you have the judicial branch, which is the United States Supreme Court. So that's what we're referring to right now. And so Thurgood Marshall, he was the first Black person to ever serve on the United States Supreme Court. Before he became a member of SCOTUS, is what we like to call it sometimes, he was an attorney. And he was the attorney who argued Brown versus Board of Education. And that he pretty much was saying that segregation violated equal protection. That pretty much means that we all get treated equally and fairly under the law. We all know that that's not 100% true, but that's theoretically that's what equal protection is, right? And it gets real legal and complicated, but essentially that's what he was most noted for. He also was one of the founders of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. He was a civil rights attorney, so it's not like he was just out there, suing people for car accidents or criminal defense or anything. He was a civil rights attorney. He was nominated into the United States Court of Appeals by John F. Kennedy, and then he was appointed onto the U.S. Supreme Court by Lyndon B. Johnson. He retired in 1991, and then when he retired, he was actually succeeded by Clarence Thomas, and then he died in 93. So that's some of the stuff about Thurgood Marshall. We'll talk about Clarence Thomas in a second, but if anybody wanted to tap in and throw anything in on about Thurgood Marshall.
Also, which is another topic we're going to have coming up soon, I believe, is that, he had a movie that came out, which was played by another great actor, Chadwick Boseman, I believe his name. Boseman, yeah, who tragically passed away recently too. So just part of Black culture. I just want to put that out there. But Thurgood Marshall was definitely pivotal in a lot of the things that we've seen from civil rights, as far as seeing people get the type of treatment that we wanted to. Brown versus Board of Education is one of the most famous cases that one of the biggest cases that we have in particular for people of color, because it allows us to be able to get into that front room where we saw one one of the first Black people to argue in front of the Supreme Court, which was Thurgood Marshall with this case. And so that was real pivotal just to see him, make it to that higher court, or the highest court of the land, and to win that case. And then eventually to be able to get on, and eventually to be able to make it onto the bench was a tremendous feat. And I think it's something that, kind of goes towards when we strive for certain things, to think that you have to try to be the absolute best. And he demonstrated that. And I just wanted that to be on there. Like, that was excellence at his best. And when we saw what Thurgood Marshall was able to achieve in his lifetime as an African-American attorney, pardon me.
Yeah, I echo both of you guys' sentiments on Thurgood Marshall. He definitely was a pioneer in Black civil rights in this country. As being the first Black Supreme Court justice, I think he did right by Black people in the Black community for the most part. So, I'm a staunch advocate and supporter of Thurgood Marshall's, and I really like what he's done for the Black community and for the United States, period. So he was a good lawyer and a good judge, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, I personally have benefited from some of the things that Thurgood Marshall has done for our society. I was bused in. I went to a predominantly white school, even though I was from the city, and that was due to the whole desegregation thing. So, shout out to Thurgood Marshall. They have a law school named after him and a whole bunch of.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like the law school, like the different programs for like higher education, advanced education under his name. So I want to shout out to that.
Yeah. We love Thurgood Marshall over here. So that moves me into the next person, which is Clarence Thomas. I'm not really a big fan of Clarence Thomas personally, but everybody teaches his own, right? But I will give you some facts about him. So he was nominated onto, I believe it was the SCOTUS, onto the United States Supreme Court by George Bush, big George Bush, in 1991. I remember he replaced Thurgood Marshall when he retired. He was appointed in 1990 to the U.S. Court of Appeals, and then a year later he was nominated to SCOTUS. And mind you, he was there for like 16 months. But while there, he encountered a problem. When he was nominated, when they were looking to confirm him, Anita Hill came out and said that he had been sexually harassing her at work. And there wasn't even a term coined for sexual harassment. It was because of Clarence Thomas in this situation that the term sexual harassment even, was created. It was this big thing. It was a big to-do. And without digging all deep into that whole situation, because we could have a whole conversation about sexual harassment in the workplace. It was just controversy from the beginning, starting with Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas was fairly quiet for quite some time on the Supreme Court, because a lot of times he would follow behind what's his name?
His name, Justice Scalia. Those guys.
Yeah, Justice Scalia. Yeah, he would follow behind Justice Scalia. But since Justice Scalia passed away, Clarence Thomas is the most conservative person on the United States Supreme Court. And one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like him, mostly liberals, is because it's believed that he benefited from a lot of Black advancements, but his perspective is that Black folks shouldn't benefit from that. They should pull themselves up by their own bootstraps and figure it out. So, but one thing I will say about Clarence Thomas is that he's not somebody that doesn't recognize that he doesn't have Black skin, right? He absolutely knows he's Black. He knows that Black people don't get a fair shake in this country. He knows all that, but he still believes that despite being oppressed, we need to figure it out. It is what it is. You know, everybody has their own opinions about things like that. I think I personally have my own. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the things that Justice Thomas says, but that's what makes America a good place. We get to disagree.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to jump in on this conversation because it's something that, like, it's a weird feeling because, again, when you talk about, you know, being Black in America or just being Black or having some level of privilege or having some level of success, what kind of comes with that? And to some people, nothing does, you know what I'm saying? And others, there's a sense of, I need to use my voice, I need to use my platform to try to make situations a lot better for others. And other individuals take it like Mr. Thomas or like Mr. Thomas and feel as though I just need to try to make it, I guess, as good for like a all lives type of matter, type of mindset, if you will, in layman's or general terms. And the reason why I think, you know, we have a lot of pushback from me is because when I watch and I sit back and I look at this, you know, I'm seeing an individual, like you said earlier, was able to benefit from a lot of the things that happen in society. You know, you mentioned he was just on that bench for 16 to 18 months. And then all of a sudden, excuse me, just 1 second. Then all of a sudden, he was able to make it to the highest court of the land. You understand that this normally takes people a little bit longer, but we also see that you came on after a Black man just stepped down. You feel me? But then also when you got in there, you didn't have the same type of viewpoints as Mr. Marshall. So although we still have in face and in color, we seem as though we look like we have a diverse, if you will, Supreme Court because we still have another person of color. We aren't able to have a person that has the same type of thought process and goals or orientation or sense of dignity, I guess, for the whole as we did with Mr. Marshall. And I think this is one of the things that I talked about as well, because I think we see this time and time again when we look at American politics, that they'll use individuals that look a certain type of way to kind of gain status in a sense, but it doesn't necessarily always lead to advancement within people of color for whatever reason, or having policies that push towards that. Again, we've seen some of the biggest ones coming in 1964, and that was around the time when we had the Civil Rights Bill, and that didn't necessarily come from people of color that was in office per se. It came from people who were fighting, you know, like you said, the Thurgood Marshalls, the Martin Luther Kings, the other individuals who were pushing for these bills to be passed. But now we'll have individuals that are in office and they're not necessarily doing the same type of things that individuals who did not have those positions were able to try to push and pressure politicians to be able to make changes to. And that's some of the stuff that I just want people to be a little bit more critical and a little bit more analytic when they look at, you know, who's being appointed, how do they move, and what do they do.
Yeah. So when it comes to Clarence Thomas, you know, he's very conservative. He has a very conservative ideals, which kind of clash with Black people, right? Because we're trying to change things, right? And conservative is like, hey, we want to keep things the same, keep it how it's been in the past, more about like, you know, Constitution, how it was originally intended, and not adapting for change, which, you know, being a Black person in this country, I'm all for the opposite of that, right? I want changes to the Constitution. I want benefits for Black people. I don't want just, you know, how the Constitution was intended, because the Constitution wasn't originally intended to benefit Black people, right? It was originally intended to benefit white males, right? Those settlers who came here who happened to be white, right? Not anybody, any other group. So there has been changes on how people have viewed the Constitution due to political pressure or corporation pressure and stuff like that. But overall, when it comes to Black people, it hasn't really changed too much, right? Like, okay, you can vote, you can do certain things, but when Clarence Thomas is saying that pulling yourself up by your bootstraps when you don't have the resources to even get the boots to strap them up, that's another issue that I can't agree with Clarence Thomas on. It's like, the way he's viewing things, he's like saying like, oh, you don't need reparations, you got a fair shake now, so you're good. Just work hard and you'll achieve what you want. And I don't like that kind of ideology when it comes to Black people as a group, especially what they're entitled to, especially what they've been through in the past, especially since they haven't achieved any reparations or repairment for the past sins that were done to their ancestors. And currently some Black people in some isolated areas are getting some form of reparations, but it's not a nationwide scale, which it needs to be. So that's my thoughts on Clarence Thomas's viewpoint on the Constitution a little bit, and my thoughts on him.
Yeah, so with that being said, that's some of the history of the two Black people that have been on the United States Supreme Court. Now, Justice Bayer, who is currently a liberal judge on the United States Supreme Court, has announced that he's going to retire, which gives President Joe Biden the opportunity to be able to appoint someone. And he has dedicated that slot to a Black woman. We just don't know who. And so I know Everett has some information that he wants to show that's going to talk a little bit more about some of the people that he has considered. Go ahead, E.
Qualifications, character, experience, and integrity. And that person will be the first Black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court. It's long overdue in my view.
Thought to be atop the short list, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson on the powerful federal appeals court here in Washington.
I was going to say, here's some of the individuals that the President Biden was looking to appoint, nominate rather for the upcoming Supreme Court.
Right, and I was going to say real quick that this comes from NBC's Nightly News. We're using it to kind of just show you guys, give you guys some education about what's going on.
Yeah, education on fair use, please.
Mm-hmm.
A 51-year-old Harvard Law graduate who was confirmed with bipartisan support just last year, and 45-year-old California Supreme Court Justice Leandra Kruger, along with J. Michelle Childs, a federal judge from South Carolina. Breyer hand-delivering his retirement letter to the president today, saying he will serve until the end of the court's term. The president's supporters hoping it's a chance.
So, just so you guys know, there are terms of court. That's true for every court, but the terms are different. So he's going to serve until the end of the SCOTUS's term, and hopefully by then, President Biden should have selected someone and nominated them to Congress for them to confirm. So Senate has to, they'll have to, do their research on them, and they'll have a hearing and all that stuff before they're confirmed and then sworn into the United States Supreme Court. And that's kind of how that process works. If you guys remember, there was a whole controversy when towards the end of President Obama's election, when Justice Scalia passed away, and Congress held up his nomination and did not confirm anybody. Yeah, and who's now head of the Department of Justice. And so, but then when Donald Trump was in office and Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away towards the end of his tenure, they went ahead and they approved Justice Kavanaugh, who also had some sexual harassment controversy going on. So just wanted to give you guys that little bit of a background as it relates to some of these young ladies. Yes, we're gonna call them.
I mean, it's always interesting how they find the dirt on a lot of these politicians,
right?
When they're running. Even Herman Cain, right? when he was running for president, it looked like he was gaining some momentum. All of a sudden, there's, rest in peace, Herman Cain, right? I mean, I'm not a fan of his, but still,
Yeah, I mean,
he's a
still
black
a
guy
person.
running, right, on the Republican side, he's gaining a little traction, with his plans and everything, which I thought was good. Like one of his plans was actually good. But anyways, there was allegations about him dealing with women, so he backed out of the race, and everything cooled off. Like disappeared all of a sudden. It's like, well, did those allegations have any teeth to them? So it's like, the court of public opinion is very strong nowadays.
I think his did. I feel like she took him to court or something.
They just disappeared. After that, he was fine. Like I didn't hear anything about the
But
news.
yeah, no, I think again, these are like like I think when we sit back and talk about this or look at it, like we see like these certain type of tactics, like okay, case an example, it's all a game. And I think when we look at, unfortunately, when when RBG stepped down, she
You mean when she died? She didn't step down.
right when she
passed away.
The point that I was going to make was the fact that she didn't step down when we had President Obama in particular, when we would have been able to continue to have a lead. Because like again, with the justices, it's kind of like a lean where it's a 6-3 split typically. 3 liberals, 6 conservatives, kind of. You know what I'm saying? Not fully, but they're into that.
It is now, but before it was almost dead even.
It was almost going to be a lock with I think when Obama was there, and it was about to be.
Yeah, it was like 5-4.
Trump was able to get two spots, so that kind of shift off. So anyhow, but that's how it's sitting currently. And so when you look at that, you have to understand that it's a game in which, if you have to take the duty on to say, if I really believe in what I believe in, and I believe in my party and what they stand on, I might have to, even if I can go a little longer, I might have to make that sacrifice in order for the party, in order for the public to get what they need. Instead, we see somebody continue to kind of hold on for whatever reason. Maybe they felt in their heart that they could, instead of realizing the game that goes into it, or just maybe they just thought that, Obama would be able to do the same thing that Trump was able to do. And we clearly see that does not happen. I think we saw that with Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas probably thought back in the day when he was doing whatever it was that he was doing, unfortunately, to Anita Hill, that he'd seen other individuals doing that, and he didn't even think that they were going to blow the whistle on him like that. It's not like he was the first person to do it. You know what I mean? He was just the one that get it pulled into the forefront. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so we see that happen. He just brought up an example of Herman Cain. It happened with Kavanaugh as well when he was going. But nonetheless, these things happen.
They can push this stuff to the side when they want their guy to go through. Like with Kavanaugh, they definitely probably shouldn't have pushed him through based off of any of the hearings, the questioning, especially some of these ladies were questioning him.
His responses, like he's yelling at people.
And especially the stuff he was doing in college. It's like, come on.
But also to the way he was responding to it, right?
Yeah.
Like when he's being questioned by people about his behavior, rather than just answering the question, he's sitting there yelling and screaming at people like people have to be okay with his behavior. And, nobody has to. What's going to be interesting, I think, because see, the thing is, you don't see that type of controversy when you talk about Black women. You have them when it's a Black woman. Anytime you see a Black woman running for any type of office, they attack her record. They don't attack her personal life. You see what I'm saying? So what you're going to see with these women is you're going to see their records being attacked. What type of rulings did they make? Things like that.
Yeah, their intellect, right? Not their behavioral choices when they were in college or a teenager or a young adult. They're going to be attacking their careers. Like, what have they done in their career, as opposed to other justices that may have done less than them.
Because they did the same thing with Kamala Harris.
They don't really care about all of that.
Right, because regardless how you feel about Kamala Harris and the things that she has or has not done, that's what they did with her. They attacked her record. They didn't talk about her personal life and the things that she did or did not do, whether or not she was telling the truth about smoking weed and listening to Tupac, you know, or, you know, they didn't say anything about the fact that she would wear her chucks and go on parades and do all, nobody said anything about any of that. It was about her record. You know what I mean? And I kind of think that's how it's supposed to be for everybody though, right? You're talking about a job, we need to talk about your record. What is your experience? What has experience shown? What you have put forth shown us about your experience and your ability to do the job, right? But the flip side to that is, are you attacking the record really, or are you underhandedly trying to attack their intellect and their ability to be decisive and making clear decisions about what it is that they're choosing to do? I, for one, am glad that President Biden is standing by his word and nominating a Black woman. And I know that there may be some pushback with that, but I am glad. I am glad. I mean, I think that we keep getting pacified and all that other kind of stuff as it relates to us not getting the anti-lynching bill passed. And here we are, president been there about 2 years and none of that, and been, you know, holding on to control. The Democratic Party's been holding on to control, and we can't get that passed. I think it's ridiculous. But as it relates to this, you know, I don't feel like this is more like a George Floyd statue. Because when you're talking about a Supreme Court justice being appointed to the United States Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, they're appointed for life. And so I think that that's really important, because those types of decisions really affect what happens with our laws and how we move as a society.
Yeah, well, I just want to say this, that like, even though if Biden commits to actually, you know, electing a female judge, that could potentially be a good thing, right? Because, you know, you have a Black female judge who's probably going to be well qualified to sit on the bench, and that's a good thing. The counterpoise part of it, the counterposing view of it, right, is that, you know, it could just be another symbolic gesture. We could just have another Clarence Thomas. We could just have another a wolf in sheep's clothing. We could have that type of scenario where, okay, we have a Black face, but they're not for Black people, right? They're not in the best interest of Black people, right? Or for most Americans trying to, you know, make it here out here in this crazy world that we live in currently, right? So that's my concern, is that President Biden will nominate this lady, and Black people will just say, oh, okay, everything's fine. Look what he did. He elected the first Black woman on the court. I'm like, okay, but there's other promises that he needs to make, because if it wasn't for Breyer's retirement, he wouldn't be electing any Black woman on the court, right? So my thing is this: we need tangible laws passed, not symbolic gestures like statues and nomination of Black people who we don't know if they will or will not really be a benefit for Black people in this country. So we need some tangible legislation out of him, and some serious that he puts forth in front of Congress, and some executive orders. That's what we need. What do you have to say on that, E?
No, absolutely. I think, you know, you guys have both hit on that issue rather really well. For me personally, I think what you said, like what you guys said, is really some of my main points. You know, I believe that again, and I don't necessarily know the actual opinions and the viewpoints that these women have necessarily voted against, or, you know, their positions on some of their cases. So, you know, that's something I look forward to seeing in the coming of days. But one, I do want to hope that, you know, we return to having a Black justice that's someone that does have an understanding and a viewpoint of or mindset that looks to or is trying to advantage the issues that a lot of Black people are facing within this country. That's one of my hopes. And again, I also hope that it's not going to be something that's going to be symbolic or that goes behind the minds of a lot of Black people to just say, oh, well, look, you know, especially in particular Black women that will just say, you know, well, hey, well, look, he put a Black woman in as VP. He put a Black woman in as, you know, as a justice. He's the man for the job for me, and not look at, like Malik said, the policies that you're getting as well. Because if I could see another candidate that comes in and maybe they didn't necessarily select a Black woman, and it would hurt my heart just to think that they didn't select anyone just because, but regardless of the fact, because I do want to see, you know, a Black justice, another Black justice on the bench. Absolutely, for sure. I would love for the Supreme Court to represent the political viewpoints, or of the nation as it is. So I would love for 30% of the Supreme Court justices to be Black, and wherever the ratio break down to the rest of the races in the country, so it to be just like that. I honestly would, in my personal opinion, but nonetheless, that's not the case, and that's not how it always goes down. But what I was trying to say is that I think that, you know, I don't want, you know, President Biden, in order to try to run with this and try to say, like, look at what I've done, look what I do for the culture, look what I've done, look what I do for the culture, and that to seem like people just kind of lose thought in that. And I feel like that's the reason he kind of is doing that towards the Black woman, because it's like that is one of the foundational viewpoints and the people that vote the most within our culture. And so that's why I think that, you know, I ask that, you know, we still remain diligent in how we are looking at him and holding him to the to a higher political standard than just appointing people in positions, and actually bringing us policies.
So let me just say this. One thing that people need to pay close attention to is who nominates these Supreme Court justices. What are their stances on policies? What are their stances on issues and things like that? Clarence Thomas was a Black man who was nominated by a conservative, by a white conservative, George Bush. It's not like he was nominated, it's not like he was a conservative judge that was nominated by a liberal president. Typically, when you have presidents that nominate judges, those judges fall in line with whatever area that they are aligned with politically. So typically with Thurgood Marshall, he was nominated by Lyndon B. Johnson, who was a Democrat. He was on a Democratic ticket. You see what I'm saying? So you know, when you get these people, you have to think about that. You also have to think about what's going on as it relates to climate in society. At the time when Thurgood Marshall was appointed, that was like in like the 60s, where, you know, civil rights was going nuts. You know what I mean? And so when you look at Clarence Thomas, he was appointed during the 90s, you know, where civil rights was not going nuts, and the president was George Bush Sr. You see what I'm saying? Somebody who
affirmative action was on the rise. It still was a continuation,
right,
to push for things for the Black.
That might be true, but the thing about affirmative action is conservatives do not typically like affirmative action. And Clarence Thomas is one who is against affirmative action, despite the fact that he benefited from affirmative action. So, you know, with that being said, you have to look at who nominated him. You had a conservative president nominate this man, who was a judge who happened to be Black, although he was a conservative, and then he gets on the bench and exercises his conservative views. Why? Because he's a conservative. Does he recognize that Black people have issues? Yep. Does he do anything about it? Not really. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that right there is the issue with Clarence Thomas. So when you look at what's going on right now today, as it relates to President Biden and his nomination, first of all, he is talking about nominating the first Black woman to the United States Supreme Court. There have been women on the Supreme Court. There have been a few. There have been a lot, but there have been a few. As it stands right now, I think there's Justice Sotomayor. There's the newest judge, I can't remember her name.
Amy or something?
Yeah, I don't remember. I just remember she's got some views I don't agree with as it relates to abortion.
Her name is,
Yeah, I don't remember her name either, and we should, but I don't. I'm just gonna be honest. But you know, as it relates to yeah, as it relates to that, we definitely need a Black woman on the Supreme Court, regardless of. I mean, I get where y'all's concerns and stuff come from. Like, you don't want somebody up there to be there just as a puppet, right? But that's the thing about being a United States Supreme Court judge. Once you get in there, can't nobody move you. Can't nobody tell you what to do. It's almost impossible to get kicked off the United States Supreme Court. You are on mute.
Which is why I personally feel like, okay, Clarence, if you understand that, okay, the game is the game, and you know what I'm saying, whatever. If you have a higher sense of understanding of who you are and how you got into where you are and what you know what I'm saying, what you mean into society, I think that's when you will be able to say, okay, cool. I came in under a conservative, but watch how I switch the game up once I really know what's going on and how I play.
I don't think so, because they don't have anything. There's no. It's not like they're.
But that's the point. There's nothing to have to hold you up. You're not getting kicked out. You're not getting thrown off. So
you're not swayed by vote.
What does it kill you to want to say, you know what? Let me really sit here and tap in. It's like when OJ said, "I'm not Black, I'm OJ." It's like, you're so disconnected from everything that goes on, and I understand that, and everybody doesn't necessarily have to know what's going on in the communities and how things are so troubling, but it's just the simple fact of the matter that at least, like, if you, I always serious, if you don't have this mindset of understanding that until all of us are free, none of us are free, you're gonna think that you have a little something, and your little something is okay. And that's fine if you think that. But until you understand that it does not matter what you have, it matters what we all have, you're going to understand one day, because maybe it's not you, but maybe your grandchild is in a situation where it gets right. Or maybe your nephew is going to be in a situation.
That's essentially what I'm saying.
It's going to catch somebody in your family. You can believe that.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that when you select a United States Supreme Court justice, you're going to select somebody that can't be swayed. First of all, they're judges. Judges are hard. It's hard to sway a judge, okay? Let's just be clear. Let's not forget about politics, forget about all that. When you are in the court of law, you have to present information and evidence to the court and for them to make a decision. Once that decision is made, that decision is made. Most people with A-type personalities have a hard time saying, I was wrong, I made the wrong decision. Some do, a lot don't. It doesn't mean that it's impossible. And then that's the reason why we even have the appellate process, right? You get to court, something goes wrong, you appeal, then the Court of Appeals a lot of times doesn't overturn stuff that they maybe should have, maybe they shouldn't have, I don't know. You know, we all have our opinions about whether or not courts get it wrong or get it right. But at the end of the day, it's already hard enough to sway a judge, all right? Because they're looking at things from a very objective place. You may not necessarily be objective because you're sitting there rooting for your client, or you have your own ideas and attitudes and thoughts about how things should go. And when things don't go that way, typically judges are hard to sway. Now you're talking about putting somebody in a lifetime appointment. It's gonna be real hard to sway them. They're not swayed by votes.
But this is my thing, though.
Hold on, let me finish what I'm saying. Or public opinion. You see what I'm saying? They're more so looking at what is going on in front of them. And what happens is a lot of times, like you said, E, they do get disconnected, especially when you're in this spot at the top for life. You're not coming down, meeting with the people, like, you might see what's going on the news. You might see what's going on before you. You might find out certain things about what's going on with your family. But for the most part, what a lot of these people, these justices, and even some of these legislators that have been in office for 1,000 freaking years, they lose touch as to what's going on in society. And so that's why I say I understand that being a concern. You understand why I get why you may feel as though people may flip-flop, but they're not. But the Supreme Court justice is not going to be swayed by.
I'm not saying that he did flip-flop, but what I'm saying is that what I'm seeing from right now is that before you even get into whatever position you get into, you have to know what it is. I think when we talked the other day about how can someone talk about Black women a certain type of way? The same exact thing need to be said is how can you become this, you know what I'm saying, have this, and I'm not trying to be funny, but like, how can you have this disconnect when you stand into a position of law and authority to not understand how, you know, mandatory minimums are disproportionately treated against your people, to not understand why jail cells are like, so it's not that you're not smart enough to understand, it's just that you truly don't care. And I think, what we have to teach, I think that what we have to teach is we have to tell individuals that you have to have a duty for more than just yourself when you have a position in which you can affect them more than just yourself. You can't take this standpoint or this blind eye to not knowing what's going on. And if you do, then we as a people need to be on you, because it's like, no, don't call him that. Don't say he's a Black justice. Don't say he's this and that, because it's not like he's necessarily, in a sense, you know, being able to do things to, or has a position and using his position in a way to help the betterment of most people. And that's where I'm coming from when I refer to.
I get what you're saying, but the thing is, it's about how you get there.
Let me just finish this last little thought. I think that it doesn't start with him just being appointed. It started maybe when he felt how he felt, like you said, when we talk about these, like certain individuals, I think this person, this is my opinion, I just think there's stuff like where you might have had some issues that came up along life, got picked on, chased, whatever, da-da-da-da. You decided to go one route where you was like, you know what, I don't care if I'm a token, I don't care if I'm just the only person in this room, I don't care whatever the situation is, I'm going to, you know, accept that. I'll accept being disrespected sometimes. I'll accept being laughed at behind my back. I'll accept certain things, because as long as I feel like I have some authority and people have to respect me, then okay, fine. As long as I get some power out of it, okay, fine. And that's what I have my problem with. Now, I don't care necessarily if you have a conservative viewpoint and you just believe in, you know, hey, maybe government spending is too big, or you know what I'm saying, you have certain views that maybe are a little more different from more liberals. I'm not going to argue with you about that. But what I will argue with you about is when you're Black and you're in a position and you do not feel as though you have a sense of duty to try to advance or help someone else get to a place in life. And that's what bothers me. And
well, not just that for me, it also is also the fact that you benefited from it. Like the very advancements that you are trying to get rid of, you benefited for.
How you thought you fast-tracked your way?
That's like lighting a bridge on fire after you cross it, so can't nobody else cross the bridge. That's crabs in a barrel. That's what, you know. You talk about crabs.
What was that movie? Right. My man was on he was out there.
Django.
Yeah. Like, you feel me?
We talk about crabs in a barrel all the time. One of the things. Thank you, Malik. That other lady justice on the United States Supreme Court, her name is Amy Barrett. And my hope for a Black female justice, because when you throw Black women in the mix, it's like throwing Lowry's on your chicken. Like, you gotta season that thing up a little bit. Right, you know what I'm saying? And so it's gonna spice some things up, because Black women, the way that we think, the way that we operate,
gonna get a little long.
Is just different. No, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, honestly, I really hope that he doesn't elect a Black. I hope he puts a white man on the darn.
No,
no. The reason why I say that is because I don't want Black people to fall for the okie doke. I want him to just keep doing wrong with Black people, so maybe they'll finally get it through their head. Like, look,
I don't think that Black people will be.
Hold on, let me finish my thoughts, Sam. I want Black people to really finally see the wolf in the sheep's clothing. Like, they're not for your best interest. They're just trying to get elected. They're just trying to get.
But I think that what Black people already see that, though.
So no, not enough. All right. Like, when you got like 90% of Black women still voting the same way, like, it's not good enough. That number needs to come down.
So I got
actually above 90%, not like 93% of Black women who decide to vote, they're voting that one way. It's like, that's not good. We need to get that number down some.
But hold on, though, because I was in the middle of saying, I was in the middle of saying something. The thing is, when you're talking about voting, yes, 93% of Black women do vote, and we freaking potentially save this country from a lot of BS, okay? And that's the reason why I even made the statement, when you throw Black women in the mix, it's like throwing Lowry's on your chicken. It's some seasoning that's necessary. There's some things that you cannot miss, right? And so the other part about that is when we vote, we vote a particular way based on the options that are presented in front of us. I believe that Black people see what's really going on right now, right? I do believe that, you know, we do try to celebrate little victories like Maya Angelou being placed on, what was it, the silver dollar or something like that. That's a cool little, nice little thing. But just like Harriet Tubman, hold on, let me finish. Just like Harriet Tubman should have got put on the back of on the $20 bill. Do I think the slave master on the other side should still be there? No, but you know what I'm saying? At least there's a Black person on there. That I think
that it was the quarter. And we got, and it's a corn shortage, but go ahead. That's all I'm doing to say.
Right, but I mean, the corn shortage ain't gonna last forever, okay? And so, because it doesn't make sense that there's a coin shortage when we make our own money. We actually have the ability to make our own money. That's another story for another day. As it relates to what's going on with the Supreme Court justice, a Black woman needs to be in there. I don't care how she gets there. I don't care who puts her in there, but we need a Black woman in there.
See, hold on. I got right there. You
let me
finish.
I
don't care who puts her there, but we talked about Clarence Thomas and who put him.
I hear that. Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish my sentence.
Put that on now.
Right, no, but the very next thing I was gonna say, preferably somebody that has more liberal views. That was the very next thing I was gonna say, right? And the reason why I say that is because, like you said earlier, Malik, in order to advance Black people, we have to have more liberal views because, you know, conservatives are typically strict constructionists. They actually believe
but not just liberal views that are in the best interest of Black people. There can be a bunch of liberal views, but if they're not helping Black people and they're counterproductive to Black people,
I agree.
Like
that's
the immigration thing, that can be a liberal view, but illegal immigrants being able to vote does not help Black people. It hurts them, in my humble opinion.
I mean, I think that is my answer to that is a lawyerly answer. It's a depends for me.
Well, I'm just saying as an example, just using that as an example.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You and I don't necessarily see fully eye to eye on that. I think on that one depends.
That's what I'm saying. Just having liberal policies.
But as far as having a Black United States Supreme Court justice, a Black female, first of all, you have a female in there. Her attitudes and views and on everything is going to be different. You see what I'm saying? And then when you're talking about somebody who is liberal, it's also going to be very different. You're not talking about a Black conservative woman who might be more about law and order, crime and punishment, things like that. Yeah. Whereas if you have somebody who typically has a more liberal view, her views are going to be that of somebody who is talking about change, evolution, moving things around, making things happen a different kind of way, because Black women think differently from everybody else. That is a fact. You see what I'm saying? And so as it relates to that, I don't want to see, I'm not trying to come off, in no way, I don't think Malik is trying to come off as a racist either, or he hates Black women or anything like that. But I will say this, I don't want to see another old white man going on the Supreme Court Supreme Court right now. I don't want to see it. Pick somebody else. If you can't pick a Black woman, pick an Asian woman, pick a Middle Eastern woman, pick somebody else. Oh, like even an Asian man, something else, somebody else, just not another old white man.
See, also, let me get back on here real quick too, because this is one thing I also want to notice too, because like I think that's one of the crazy, like when we talk about it, and this is just a Black people issue as well. I just think that like a lot of times, you know, a lot of Black people, not necessarily, but they kind of hold Clarence Thomas viewpoints in a sense. And let me make this is a real tough statement. In the sense of like, we'll be willing to share with anybody. We'll be willing to break bread with anybody. And sometimes that bites us because we'll see other communities are more concerned about their own issues and themselves. So, you know, when we talk about sometimes bringing people in, or like, having other diversity, or, when we do see Black people, we do need to also have that mindset of like, it's okay for you to like, okay, want to see your people advance as well and do it. And then not think that, because it's like only time that people think about Black people caring about Black people, they going to normally thinking of like, like and they going from like a Muslim descent or someone like that with a Muslim viewpoint, as far as like Honorable Minister Flores Farrakhan. You might think of someone like Tariq Nasheed, or other individuals, and they kind of give you like this extremist viewpoint versus saying like, yo, no, it's okay for Black people to want to see Black people do well. And I think that's the point that you're referencing in a sense. But I also want to caution that they don't necessarily do this with this viewpoint of like, yo, okay, I'm going to just make sure everybody's good, and I'm going to try to be fair to everybody because I know what it's like to be discriminated against. So I don't want anyone to receive that. Whereas other people will probably be like, you know what, no, I'm just going to look out for my people. And I think that's the one thing that I hope that whoever is in this position, whoever does get elected, doesn't come in with that type of mindset in a sense, even though, it will look as though it seems like it's good for the whole, but everybody is not in the same position. So we can't necessarily do something that's good for everyone all the time.
I think it's necessary to try to see that they do good for everyone, but Black people are able to benefit the most. There's a way that you can go about doing that. It just depends on what we're talking about. What's the topic? What is, you know what I mean? If you're talking about infrastructure, all right, cool. But you're not going to have a whole lot of court cases about infrastructure. You're going to have more court cases about things like abortion, police brutality.
We just ask that you do your job, don't clean it up, and have Black people's interests at heart when you're doing things. That's all the Black community can ask of anybody in that position, right? If you do that, that's fine. Like, I don't think you're going to be betraying white people or the whole other country. I got to look out for other people. I can't only do anything for Black people, Miss Kamala Harris. Like, come on now. Like, you don't have to speak like that. Just do your job. And if there's an opportunity to help Black people, take it. And that's all anybody can ask of you, really. That's all the Black community can ask of you to do. But
I'm almost going.
But everybody doesn't look for that. But everybody doesn't look for that.
They don't want to do that, right? Like,
but everybody doesn't look for that either, though. There's a lot of Black folks out there that just want them to just do for Black people.
But see, that I think that's the topic too, real fast. And I know we kind of getting off, so I'm gonna just say it real quick. But I think that's the whole thing, because sometimes we say like, if we say, okay, we'll just do for everybody, that's all, and if Black people can benefit from it, great. That's when we get those statistics saying like, oh, well, SBA got this much money, and you know what I'm saying, they went to this, and Black people, received this type of funding, but they'll also tell you that, also that went to all women minority-owned business or woman-owned businesses, or that also went to other, minority-owned businesses as well. So when
that's a trick bag I'm always talking about. They'll say women businesses or whatever, and then Black women will think that's a win for them, and they end up not getting all that money. Or they'll say minority and Black and minority businesses, right? And Black people end up not getting most of that money. It happens a lot. That's why I prefer the exclusivity, like keeping us separate from minorities. Minorities, y'all can do y'all thing. Black people, we need our own little group. We don't want to be included with all that, because when we're always included with everybody else, we always get the least amount of benefits. So that's why I always say it's a trick bag, that's where I'm coming up with that. But that's all I have on the topic. Unless y'all have any other final thoughts, I'll get into the motivational minute here.
Well, I can do the final thought after the motivational minute.
Oh yeah. I mean, just like any final comments on that on the segment there. Okay, well, the quote I have here is, "You are not the troubles that happen to you. You are magnificence unfolding. Allow it to happen." So that quote really spoke to me because, sometimes I need encouragement and motivation to push on, and I need to know that, the power is inside of me to push forward and move forward to achieve my goals. So that really spoke to me on that quote. But any final thoughts, anybody? before we wrap up? Because
No, I think you hit that one pretty well. I just want to say, like, again, to anybody, whether you make it to a Supreme Court justice position, which is like the highest court of the lands, or, you have a management position in your position at a job, or you create your own company, and it comes down to you being able to offer a position to someone sometimes, and you think that they, just need that little inch, always look to try to help, other individuals that you see that one, are willing to do the work and that's willing to help themselves. And then two, you know what I'm saying, use your position to help your people, because I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, because we see it happen all the time in society. And as things continue to get, as interest rates continue to go higher, as the wealth gap continues to grow wider and wider, I think people need to be a little bit more mindful on trying to do those type of things.
Sure, yeah, and as far as my final thought, I think it's good that the president is looking to nominate a Black woman to the United States Supreme Court. I think it's overdue, and it's exciting because I want to see what happens, right? I'd like to see how a Black woman could help advance this country, because a lot of times, when we're placed in positions, we don't, right? Like, there's a lot of things that I think Kamala Harris could do that she hasn't done. Am I surprised by it? No. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? But it's going to be interesting to see how we have somebody who gets a lifetime appointment is able to move, because then they're not swayed by anybody's votes, anybody's ideologies, things like that. They get to make their decisions and do that. Yeah. They get to separate themselves from the politics and from the foolishness at in Washington. One of the things that we almost forgot to do was talk about our Black Business of the Month. This is the last week we're going to highlight them, but they are 12th and Viv. They have candles, body butters, beard stuff for beards, lotions, things like that. Check them out. I know E has one of their lovely candles, and so he loves his little candle. So I know they have different scents and things like that. So you guys make sure you check them out, 12th and Viv, and you guys should see the website popping up on your screen so that you know how to find them. But that's my final thought. I'm gonna tell you my socials. Oh, well, it's going to be at the end, so we don't even have to tell you that anymore. If you guys ever want to follow us, make sure you do. You can also make sure you check us out. I'm going to give Malik the floor in just a second, but make sure you guys check this podcast out. It's going to be posted 1:00 on Saturday, and please make sure you check us out 8:30 on Wednesdays on Instagram for our What's Up Wednesday. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and probably somewhere else soon. But make sure you like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Malik?
Yes, so I echo Sam's sentiments there. Like, share, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, as well as Instagram. You can check us out at Counterpoise Podcast. Our socials will be at the end if you want to check us out, and also we'll put them in the descriptions below as well. But my last final thoughts on the topic before he closes us out here is that, I just don't want it to be a symbolic gesture. That's the only reason why I have that pretty conflicting view, right? That viewpoint, because you just get tired of symbolic gestures. Like, we got a George Floyd statue, but we don't have law legislation passed. So I just don't want that situation occurring again. That is why I say what I said. Like, just let them elect. Let's just let them elect a white man on the Justice Court. So people could be upset about, like, Biden, what are you doing? I kind of want some of that controversy. I kind of want some of that conflict. So people could say he's not really doing anything for us. We need to rethink our strategy, apply more pressure. That's really what I want to happen. That would be good. But if there's a Black woman who's going to do a good job, I'm for that too. Honestly, doesn't really. I think it's a win either way in a weird way. I hope he just makes the right decision. Biden does. If he picks a black woman, I hope he picks the right one. So that's my closing remarks. Everett, you can
Well, yeah, I just want to thank everybody for checking us out,
take
man.
us home out here.
Being with us. I also want to say you guys can check us out on Wednesdays. We're going to continue to drive great content for you guys. We're going to continue to advocate for our people. And we just also want to let you guys know that, we just want people to, again, the whole reason for us starting the show is because we thought, we're critical thinkers and we want people to do that. We don't want people to continue to fall for the wolves, sheep over the wool. The sheep over the wolves clothing. Stop falling for symbolism and tokenism type of situations. And start holding people accountable and looking for things that's going to benefit you. And I don't think that that's necessarily wrong. That's why they have coined the term nepotism and other terms like that, because that's what happens on the regular all the time. And it's time for our people to be able to see those type of things happening. And I think it comes with us having a discussion. I think it comes with us working with people who have like minds and they're all working together to try to make that advancement happen. Again, everybody won't be able to make it, but those who do and who get it, I think you say, guys who get it, and those who don't. So those who do, tap in and let's make something happen for the next generation. With that, we're going to go ahead and tap out and let you guys know. Check us out later. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.